Well, hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you've joined me again on today's broadcast. I bring you greetings from Israel, and I pray that you and your families are doing wonderfully. You know, we're going to continue our topic today on understanding the communication styles of males and females and, understanding the difference. I know you enjoyed last week's study, and so today we're going to jump right in. I want to start off by reiterating to you a point that we made on last week, and that is God gave females to males so that men can have balance, so that they can have the benefit of women's sensitivity and feeling. It is very easy for men to make a decision and not care what anyone thinks about it or who will be affected by it. And this is why it's good for a man to have that other part of him that says, what are you planning to do? Or what you're planning to do may be right, but honey, the way that you intend to go about it, it could be wrong. So perhaps you could consider this. Now, there's an account of a woman named Abigail in 1 Samuel chapter 25, verses 10 through 11. And this is a great example of how a woman's discernment averted disaster for a man. Now, Abigail combined intelligence and discernment and insight to address a deadly situation. Okay, so this is a situation. So her husband, Nabal, had rejected David's request for food after David and his men had dealt honorably with Nabal and had even protected his property. But Nabal wasn't using wisdom, but his own form of logic and pride when he rebuffed David. And when we look at verses 10 and 11, we see that David was very angry at the way he was treated and was going to destroy Nabal and the men who worked for him. But Abigail went to David and appealed to his sense of justice and righteousness before God and his compassion. Her insights and good judgment kept David from destroying her husband and his men. You see, God gave females and males different type of communication styles. God gave females to males so that men can have balance. Now, Abigail is a great example of someone who understood how to communicate with another based on knowledge of the other person's outlook. She knew what to say to David, what would get his attention, what would resonate with his deepest convictions, and she knew how to get through to him. Because men's perspectives are normally head over heart, okay? Men's logical thinking can also provide a balance to women's emotional feeling. There are times when your heart can lead you in one direction and your head in another. Am I right about it? And sometimes making the best overall decision requires that you go with your head. So if you're a leader during a crisis, you don't have much time to have an emotional experience. You need to be able to think. And so as women, our emotions can make it very difficult for us to think clearly. Now, after the Israelites had been freed from Egypt and were approaching the Red Sea, Pharaoh chased after them with this army. And when the Israelites saw the Egyptians coming after them, they panicked and accused Moses of luring them to their deaths. Yet Moses exercised leadership when he didn't give in to their panic, but rather he said, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord. He will bring you this day. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." So what Moses was trying to say was, instead of letting your emotions control you right now, instead of running around like chickens with your heads cut off, stay still and trust the Lord. And after Moses had gotten everyone under control and everything in order, then he went to talk to the Lord. This is how he is made to operate. Because why? Because the man is the way he is because of what he has to do to exercise leadership. And so what a woman says is an expression of what she feels, while what a man says is an expression of what he thinks. The woman has thoughts and the male man has feelings. However, a woman will more likely express what she feels, and a man will more likely express what he thinks. As you can see, they are communicating two completely different levels of information. Now, when a woman is under stress and wants someone to empathize with her so that she doesn't feel so alone in her difficulty, she may say something to her husband like, you know, your parents are coming over for dinner. The house is a mess. We don't have any groceries. The kids have been underfoot all day, and I just can't do it all. And, you know, she comes across as though she is all overwhelmed to the man. Well, because the man is a logical thinker, he thinks logical. He says something like, well, okay, I'll just go out and get some groceries. And then she says, well, no, I don't need you to just go out and get any groceries because I need to determine what I'm going to cook. So it's like, the man is like, well, I'll take you and the kids out for dinner. And, you know, and so that way you don't have to worry about cooking tonight. And so she's like, nah, we can't be out late. The kids need baths. And besides, I have to use up the leftovers. And so she's going through this whole charade. And so the man is like, okay, you're emotional right now. And I'm a thinker right now. And I'm trying to solve your problems. But whatever I say is just not working. And so, you know, this, you know, when a woman does that, it totally exasperates the man because he's trying to help a woman or his wife, and she's rejecting all of his suggestions. He doesn't realize that what the woman really wants is for him to take her in his arms and tell her how much she is appreciated. While she would also probably appreciate his help, she first needs his emotional contact. She needs emotional contact with him so that she can be, you know, emotionally stabilized. And then she will be able to tackle the other problems and they won't seem so insurmountable. What she is thinking was that she could handle things if she received some love and affection from her husband. But what she expressed was her overwhelming feelings of overload and fatigue, which was her husband's, which her husband interpreted as a need for him to solve her problems by taking action. And so, women, we don't always tell a man what we are thinking. And when we start to become emotional, what a man needs to understand is that he needs to be patient and try to work through our emotions to find out what we are thinking. Now, sometimes a man just gonna have to dig very deep to find out what is actually on our mind. Am I right about it? Because what a woman is thinking is often different from what she is saying. I'm gonna say that again. What a woman is thinking is often different from what she is saying. And so this process can take patience on the part of the man because he wants just the facts and likes to quickly arrive at the bottom line. A woman is thinking on a variety of levels. However, it takes her longer to process all these details and arrive at a conclusion. So we have to, take these into consideration, okay? And again, I want to reiterate, that a woman is thinking, what she's thinking is different from what she's really saying. And so most of the time when a man speaks to a woman, he doesn't tell her what he's feeling, okay? The misunderstanding of this causes problems in relationships. For example, like when you think about many couples in which the woman don't understand the man's nature, he doesn't care about me. That's how she feels. When we don't understand their nature, that they're thinking and we're feeling, we often think that he doesn't care about us because he doesn't tell us he loves us, he's indifferent. I mean, we think all of these negative things because of this experience of being able to understand each other's communication style. Because, when you look at it, the way that the man come across, it might seem true, but it oftentimes is not, because of how we were made. Okay, a man really feels deeply. Okay, just like a woman feels really deeply, and he feels deeply for her. But the problem is that he doesn't say what he is feeling. He says what he is thinking. Isn't that powerful? If we can get that down. A woman often doesn't say what she's thinking. She says what she's feeling. A man oftentimes doesn't say what he's feeling. He says what he's thinking. So now note the difference. In his heart, he feels great love for her, but in his mind, this love is not always translated into specific words that he can share with her. Facts and figures are what come to his mind. A man can be feeling love and enjoying his wife's company, but what comes into his head, which he communicates to her, may be the latest business report or news report. This is why a woman becomes incredulous when she shares a romantic moment with a man and the man suddenly starts talking about needing to balance his checkbook. It's just like, what? Okay, like, listen to this. Do you remember the story of the woman who asked her husband, do you still love me? And he replied, I told you the day that we got married, and it still applies. I'll let you know if I ever change my mind. Remember, I don't know if you all remember that because you probably just watching for the first time today. But anyway, we told a story about a woman, was questioning the love of her husband. And she would often say to him, do you love me? Do you love me? And he would always say, hey, yes, I love you. I just told you that 2 weeks ago. I just told you that 2 months ago. I just told you that 2 years ago. But we as women always have to have that affirmation. Okay. We always have to have that affirmation, but a man doesn't, they don't understand that. And so what needs to happen is that it seems as though the man's responses are horrible, right? When they come across in their thinking mode, and it's very easy to misinterpret them or misunderstand them, right? Because it's really hard for men to express themselves in the first place. So men have to start learning to communicate their feelings to women, as women have to start to learn to express their thoughts to men. Now, the word of God says that men are to treat the women with consideration. When we look at 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, it says men need to treat their wives with sensitivity based on a knowledge of what their wives need so that they can continually replenish these needs. And I've seen it to be true that the happier the women are, the happier the men are. And so, I want to just reiterate, I think about the story of Jane and Tarzan. So basically, like when Jane is happy, Tarzan is happy. Now it can be be difficult for a woman to understand how very hard it is for men to express their feelings. Yet, it is very important for a woman not to come to any conclusion about a man's motivations until she discovers what he is feeling, not what he's saying, what he's feeling. And there are many men who are feeling emotions that they have difficulty verbalizing, and they are hurting. They feel sad and weak inside. They feel like losers. They are depressed that they haven't been promoted for the past 10 years and that nothing is working out with their jobs. They feel as if they failed their wives and their families. They feel bad, but it is hard for them to come up with the words to express their feelings. And women, we have to understand this. A woman needs to learn to create an environment that will enable a man to tell her what he is feeling. And when she works through his thinking, she will find out what he's feeling. And she will discover that what he is feeling is often very different from what he is or has been saying. When Jane's happy, Tarzan happy. So if women and men are not careful, they will come to the conclusion about what each other's motivations without knowing what the woman is really thinking or the man is really feeling. This has caused so many people to think that their marriage or relationship isn't working. And so after a while, they say, forget this, and they walk away from the relationship. And later on, when they meet someone else and get married, hoping things will be different this time, however, they encounter the same problems as in their previous relationships. They think the problem is with the other person, when the problem is often the communication. And so this cycle will continue until they learn to work through and understand the differences between women and men and why each is unique and how God has made them to beautifully complement one another. In addition to having different communication styles relating to what they speak about, females and males also have different styles in the way they hear what is said to them. What a woman hears is received as an emotional experience, while what a man hears is received by him merely as information. They have two entirely different ways of processing language that is spoken to them. A man doesn't have an emotional experience with what he hears. And this is why it is very important for the man to understand the woman. The woman receives language in an emotional way because she is designed to absorb the world around her and to personalize it. She is designed to take in everything and incubate it. Remember the example that we gave, about if you tell a woman that she's ugly and you say the same thing to a man, you'll get a different response from each one of them. Because a man will probably look at you and say, well, you're ugly too. But now the woman, on the other hand, she will never forget you as long as you live and might even consider hiring someone to assassinate you, okay? Because before a man speaks to a woman, he needs to think about what he says to, before a man speaks to a woman, he needs to think about what he's about to say and how he's about to say it. Because a woman receives everything as an emotional experience. It is very important for a man to be sensitive about her feelings. He needs to consider her actions rather than saying whatever comes to his mind. A man may tell his wife, that dress is getting a little bit too tight for you. But weeks later, even though she didn't say nothing at that time, and she didn't say, she didn't tell him or react to how he felt. Soon, one day or days or weeks later after that, her pent up feelings will have reached a breaking point so that she has to release them. And she'll call a friend at 6 o'clock in the morning crying over what her husband said to her. And her husband will hear her crying and ask her, like, what is wrong with you? Why are you crying? In other words, why aren't you telling me what's wrong with you and what's wrong with you? And she'll say to him, you told me I was fat. And he go, when did I say that? I don't recall telling you that. But she would declare that he had said that to her. But he can't remember that because that's not what he meant. And so what a man tells a woman will be absorbed by her entire being. If he tells her that the rice was a little salty today, okay, she processed this information as negative, as he's complaining about her, and she hears everything but what he's actually saying to her, okay? He's not saying that she can't cook. He's not saying that she prepared a bad meal. He's stating a fact, okay? And so we need to understand, a man needs to understand that when he speaks to a woman, he has to really take the time out to understand that a woman absorbs everything that he says, and that he has to make sure that he is considerate and sensitive to the things that he's saying to her. Now, on the other hand, a woman needs to realize that when she talks to a man, he only hears it as information. When a woman talks to a man, he only hears it as information. He runs on information because he's a logical thinker. And when she wants to talk to a man, she has to learn to tell him what she thinks, not what she feels, okay? Sometimes a woman will become upset at something that a man has done and will start crying. Again, a woman needs to release her emotions, and she often expresses them through her tears. However, the man is saying, I'm going to leave. I'll come back when you settle down and we can talk. Why? He says that to a woman. To her, it seems like he's being cold. But what he's really saying is, I'm looking for information and I'm not receiving any. And there's no reason for me to be here right now because I need information. If I'm going to fix the problem, because that's how he's thinking, then I need information. And I don't understand your tears and your emotion. So he go away for a while. And then he comes back and asks, so are you ready to talk to me now? He doesn't understand that the woman has been trying to communicate something to him through her emotions. He thinks it's information. She feels it's personal. And so because her response is related to, because his response is related to his design, a woman needs to work with the equipment the way it's made. She can sit down and say, honey, I have something to say to you. I did not appreciate what you said, and it really made me feel less valued by you. And when you did not open the door for me tonight in front of our friends, I know you didn't do it intentionally, but it's important for others to know that you respect me. I love you very much, and I want to be as dignified as possible to make you proud. Those are some of the things that she can say, because a man wants a woman's what? Information. He doesn't want her tears because he doesn't know how to respond to them. And this is a serious point of difference and conflict between women and men. The woman cries, but the man cannot feel her tears. He feels sorry that she is crying, but he wants to know what he can do to fix things. He wants information. He wants information. So we have to work on giving men information rather than giving them our emotions and our tears, right? So another point of difference between females and males is that women are generally interested in the details, in the particular things, while men are usually interested in what is abstract, the principles or the philosophy related to something. Similarly, when it comes to memory, women tend to remember the details and men normally forget. And the woman cries, but the man cannot feel her tears, right? So this is why after attending a wedding, for example, a woman can talk on the phone with a friend for hours discussing all the details of event, such as the flowers, the music, what the bride was wearing, what kind of food was served. I mean, just all kinds of details that she can express at that time. But when you ask a man, he'll say, well, they got married. And we're like, what? You miss all of the details and you like bring it to they got married? What am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say that a final aspect of the differences between the communication styles of women and men is that women don't usually forget things, while men generally have to be reminded over and over and over again. And so here again, where purpose is not known, people start to become suspicious of others' motives. The woman may bring up a previous wrong she experienced, and the man will think, what's the matter with her? I did that 5 years ago, and now you're still bringing that up again. I told her I was sorry. I asked her for forgiveness, and here she is still talking about it. She's still, bringing it up. He is angry at her natural inclination not to forget things, because we don't, as women, we do not forget things. Yet, this is the way we're made, right? And we're designed not to forget. Now, a man may remember facts related to his business, but often he will not remember dates and times and events. And so, for example, a woman may be dressing for an evening out and her husband can totally forget. What am I trying to say? Most men don't know the reason why women remember things. And most women can't understand why men don't recall things. It has to do what? With our purpose and design. Men tend to think about their goals and the bottom line, while women tend to remember details. These differences are complementary. However, they can be a source of serious problems in a relationship, because when you don't understand the purpose of something, you can become suspicious of it. You can begin to suspect that person that you're dealing with with having an ulterior motive. And so we don't want to do that. Well, I'm all out of time. I'll see you next time right here again.